Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to do a video book preview on the Veritable Key of Solomon by Stephen Skinner and David Rankin. Obviously they did not produce the original works, they simply had them translated into English and produced this anthology that we're going to do a preview on today. And so the reason why I wanted to do a preview is because there aren't any previews on Amazon or anywhere else that I could find, and they want $65 for this book. And unfortunately, to me, that seems very annoying because then the individual who's looking at that doesn't really know what they're getting for this purchase, and that doesn't really make sense to me. So I thought I'd go through and allow people to see what they would be getting, especially since, in my opinion, if you're doing research on grimoires, specifically Solomonic grimoires, to purchase one, I'd recommend actually buying this one first, and I will explain why throughout the video. So let's start out with the art. Essentially, this is one of the main circles in the book, which is why it's on the cover page. There are 3 complete versions of the Key of Solomon that we are going to go through in this book. It's not just one, it's 3 different variations. The back just has all of the volumes in this series. This is volume number 4. If you see, it's right here, the Veritable Key of Solomon. And so the front cover and book is pretty simple. It's just black with gold bolded font. And so let's go through the book. So one of the main reasons why this would be an excellent first purchase is because of this introduction right here that we're going to go talk about. As Stephen Skinner wrote another book called called The Techniques of Solomonic Magic. And in that book, it is the most detailed analysis of the techniques of Solomonic magic that has ever been produced. And so from the author who produced that, we also have an introduction to this work. And so that's part of the reason why it's an excellent first purchase in terms of grimoires. Or if you already have a lot of grimoires, because of that fact, as well as this one right here. In terms of the appendices, we have all the manuscripts laid out for those people who are interested, that these people have found in their research. And then we have incorrectly attributed manuscripts, as well as other books. And then he has more tables and the equipment. And so let's go through the book. So this introduction explains what the Key of Solomon is and how it's related to the S.L. McGregor Mathers Aleister Crowley version. And then it goes into the history and overview of Solomon and Solomonic magic, in brief, of course. And then it goes through, like I said, the brief history. And then here he starts to explain what kind of classification for the Solomonic texts that he has prepared in terms of dealing with this. And he explains why he classifies each text the way he does. I'm just going to go through a little bit faster here. And of course this table categorizes all of that information. He goes through the different languages: English, Arabic, French, Italian, German, Latin, Czech, Dutch, Hebrew. And so, essentially, the Key of Solomon is one of the most famous grimoires throughout all of history, and is surprisingly the only one that has ever been produced besides this version. Has been the Aleister Crowley MacGregor Mathers edition. And so, we're almost at the end of the introduction. It's very rich with facts. And so this is when he starts talking about the scribes. But because it's so rich with facts, I think it is definitely worth reading, and that's why it's so important for someone to really consider this if they're interested in the Solomonic grimoire tradition at all. So let's begin with the first key. So this is the cover page. I definitely really like this grimoire. There are certain aspects that are a little bit medieval, but there are certain aspects that are definitely pretty modern. Excuse me. Like, for example, which skills you must possess if you wish to involve yourself in the knowledge of Kabbalistic secrets. Before anything else, you should be warned that you cannot omit anything from the instructions which have been laid out for the workings with the mysteries of the great art. In addition, it is pointless to question the relationship between the planets and a piece of virgin parchment paper or a metal plate charged with a number of talismans or characters which can produce such admirable effects. That's definitely for a more modern audience, although all throughout history people have doubted that, more so in modern times because magic was more so accepted in previous respects. And so the first couple of chapters explain what should be done, and then the chapters start getting into the days of the week and what kind of symbols should be used on the parchment or the metal for what days. It's very instructional. It may not be super practical. There are definitely aspects of this that are not practical, but there are many aspects to it that are practical for the modern magician. It really depends upon how serious you are in terms of getting interested in this topic. So, in case you aren't familiar, Solomonic magic essentially, it's pretty similar. So, before I start explaining Solomonic magic, so here we are starting to get into the first. So this is the perfumes, and then those are prayers on the page before, and then we start getting into Sunday. And what is the approach on Sunday. So, essentially what I was saying earlier is that if you aren't aware, essentially Solomonic magic is pretty similar. If you have a Solomonic grimoire, you're going to notice how similar they are, as that makes them Solomonic magic. But essentially, you're either making pentacles or talismans in one context, or you're doing spells and evocations and conjurations, possibly invocations to control spirits, either angels or demons or planetary aspects or planetary spirits. So now we're on Monday. We just went through Sunday. This is now Monday. So one of the other reasons that I wanted to do a preview is because although this is really mainly for the serious Kabbalistic magician, as it says in the introduction, you have to have a knowledge of Kabbalah, you have to have a knowledge of astrology, and a few more magical essentials, such as to know how to perform a ritual. And in that case, it's definitely worth buying, but it's also worth buying, and also why I wanted to do a video in case people didn't want to buy it, is because they may find inspiration for their own magical rituals by using some kind of sigil or seal that they find in this. But as you can see, these are all different types of spells that this is used for. But if you are buying this intending to work the magic, just know that it is complicated. Kabbalistic aspects are, well, they're not as complicated as the astrology part, astrological aspects, in terms of the slight variations that exist in each Solomonic grimoire, as well as the slight variations from different Western astrological perspectives. So now we on Thursday. This is So now we're on Friday, which would be Venus. Eventually, I would like to at least try this to see how it works out. Always like to try things before make up my mind whether or not they work. So now we're almost at the end of the first key, because the first key is pretty long, or the first variation of the key. Very interesting illustrations. And of course, the famous rings of Solomon. Always got to have a warning. If you don't have a warning. So this is the second key. We're going to begin the second key, and this is from this manuscript found in the Abraham Colorno family. So this variation is a lot more explanation in terms of what's going on in the magical arts. So I'm just gonna flip through it a little bit more quickly. In my opinion, the first book is where I spend most of my time and where I'd recommend most people spend their time, but the second and third variations are definitely great. There's no doubt about that. I also forgot to mention that if you know of the Rosicrucian novel Zanoni, the first key that we went through was mentioned in that novel, if that is of interest to anyone. So now we're on the third key. This comes from Welcome Manuscript number 446, and this comes from this location. No, that's not a, it doesn't explain the location like the other one does. That's just the name. Sorry about that. Oh, forgot to mention one thing about this is that the version of the Key of Solomon, as it says down here, is similar to that of the Grimoire Verum. The Grimoire Verum owes much to this this third manuscript here, the Universal Treatise of the Keys. So, thank you for staying with me this long. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment what you may have learned, or the timestamp of what sigil you may want to use in your magic rituals. Please hit the subscribe button if you're looking for more content in terms of all of this. And then here we get, of course, to the pendencies. This is what I was saying earlier. If you are interested in this topic, this is a great book as it goes through the manuscripts in the various different languages that we have available. And then it goes through certain manuscripts that are incorrectly attributed. And then, of course, it has more tables, because always need tables. And then it goes through to the magic ritual attire and sigils and tools and equipment and where to put them. And then here's the bibliography and the index, and we're done. So buy it only if you're going to use it. If you already own a Solomonic Grimoire and you are not using it, then don't buy another one, because it's a waste of money. If you're a serious magician, you will definitely get what you want out of it. That's why I recommend this book. I may do a video in the future about what it takes to do a Solomonic ritual. So look forward to that. If you're looking for rational metaphysics, please check out my other videos, such as my video on Proof of God or my upcoming video on my definition of magic. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.